First of all, a clear overview of their assets, of their network or applications. Starting from a domain, we identify all the subdomains, and there were multiple cases when we went to the client and tell them, hey, this is an older subdomain which you haven't used in a while and it might be used against you. Second, zero false positives. When we deliver a report, all the vulnerabilities come with evidence, with screenshots, with proof of concept code, with steps to reproduce them. The client always receives only valid vulnerabilities. And third, business logic flaws. Imagine an online shop where you have some products, you put in a cart and you go and try to pay them. What happens if you try to manipulate the final price just before you do the payment? This kind of attacks, this kind of tests cannot be found with regular scanners, but only with human interaction. For this conception, like penetration test, it's equal with a vulnerability scan. This is not true, because a penetration test will give you an exploitable vulnerability, not just a potential vulnerability. Second of all, like everybody can do it, maybe in half an hour or so. Well, this is not the case here, because you really need the tools and the knowledge to do such penetration tests. Otherwise, you might risk to do damage to the systems of the client, or even to break their application, or to perform denial of service attacks without actually knowing it. Third misconception, pen tests are too expensive. Well, they are more expensive indeed than a vulnerability scan, but they bring you more value. They might protect you even against a possible ransomware attack. And in that case, you would have to pay millions of dollars. First of all, they benefit from an interaction with us. We stay always with the client and try to understand their business context, their business needs. They always come and ask, what services can you offer to us? And then we identify what they really need, because they don't need all of our services, of course. Next, when we deliver a penetration test report, we always ensure that this is a qualitative report, not a quantitative report. And also, in the end, we stay in touch with the client, making sure they are fixing their problems. We are going to retest them. Secondly, they also benefit from a very large number of penetration tests we delivered so far, from dozens of years of experience and a plethora of technologies and industries we have tested against. Last but not least, we offer continuous support to our clients. After we deliver the penetration test report, we always follow up with them, making sure they have addressed their problems and making sure also that they mitigated all the high risk and medium risks issues. First, a broader overview of the security posture of their assets. For example, a company buys another company. In this case, they want to make sure that these assets are secure. A company might also invest in a startup, and of course, they want to know if their money will be invested in a safe and secure startup or application. Or a company also wants to launch publicly a new product. They want to make sure that this new product is robust from security point of view. It doesn't have known issues, public vulnerabilities, and so on and so forth. Second, actionable items like recommendations mapped on the business context, and also a long-term business relationship they can always rely on. Technically, being already familiar with the assets of a client, the scoping process takes much less time, which means a lower cost for recurring business. Also, it is very nice and natural when you create such long-term relationships. It feels like expanding your own team with a specialized remote task force that's always there to help you. I always thought that there was something vulnerable on my system, but I didn't know exactly what and where. Or after getting access to a system while looking out of the box, the client said, I thought my application was secure, but you managed to compromise the entire server by looking behind the app. That's interesting. Three things: quality of work, open communication, and dependability.